First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Shem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I wanted to go into how their own tongue is falling upon themselves. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because of everything that is coming out about these Edomites. Right? It's coming out just as the prophets have been prophesying, teaching, showing how these so-called Edomites are the wicked. Okay, how the elites, which are the ruling class of the Edomites, so-called Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Vanderbilts, DuPonts, right? All these, banking families, how, they commit all types of, pedophilia, literally eating children. That was in the Epstein files, trafficking children, little boys, just all types of wickedness. We've been telling you for, years upon years, but, now that the devil comes out and says it himself, now y'all want to believe. But regardless, the point is that the world is finding out that this is the devil that the Bible speaks about. Okay? These Edomites are the wicked. So I quoted a scripture in Psalms, I believe it's Psalm 64 and verse 8. It says, "So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away." Right, and this is going into the wicked. Right, when it talks about their own tongue falling upon themselves, how their own people were going to come out and expose the information of, what's really going on. And that's why, you can go on YouTube, you can go on Rumble, you can go on the internet and find all types of information about, what we're reading right here. So, news article, it says at least half a dozen top Trump administration officials appear in the Jeffrey Epstein files. It says Pam Bondi says DOJ released all Epstein files. Names Trump, Biden, Zuckerberg. It says Epstein files fallout takes down elite figures in Europe, while U.S. reckoning is muted. Right, they're not publishing it. And there's a bunch of files that came out, with this whole thing. Trump's name, being mentioned there, over 15,000 times. So let's get another scripture. Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3 says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." Right, and that's what we're seeing right now. Right, we saw the falling away, which is going into the Israelites being scattered, and that man of sin being revealed is going into these Edomites. Right, what they do, what these elites do, is being revealed. It says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Right, so they got that God complex, which is ultimately, why their end game is to chip everybody, the mark of the beast. Because once they got that chip in you, they are your God. They are your power, because they control every single thing you do. So let's go to another scripture, and this actually click more news here. It says a list of people facing consequences over the DOJ's release, and the scripture was just right in my mind. Lord willing, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai can bring it back to me. But hey, this is why we need those new bodies, man, because, here it is, I'm 23 years old and, be forgetting things. You know, it was literally right there and I just forgot it. Which, let's get a scripture going into that. And I feel like it'll come back. Let's go get a scripture going into how, hey, we're going to be changed. You know, we're going to receive new bodies that are perfect. And we're going to put off these, you know, corruptible flesh. So 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 52. I'll start at verse 51. It says, "Behold, I show you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed." Right, going into Yahushua's return, starting with the elect. Okay, we're gonna receive those new bodies. Okay, which the law, statutes, and commandments are gonna be inside of them. So it says, "For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality." Right, so we're gonna go from mortal to immortal. Okay, and we're gonna put off this flesh that, you know, is weak. Okay, this flesh that goes off. Okay, that decays. We're gonna be the powers of everything. Okay, so going back to, let's go to Daniel chapter 12. And I'll start at verse 4. It says, "The bowels of Daniel shut up the words and sealed the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased." And that's what we're seeing right now. Is we're seeing a knowledge being increased from every single aspect. Right? Specifically, we're talking about how the knowledge of the true nature of these Edomites. You know, that's something that if you try to look into 40 years ago, you wouldn't be able to find, you know, a lot of topics on it, a lot of people talking about it. Okay, it's because it was something that was hidden. But here it is, 2026. You know, crazy 2026. You can go on the internet and there's literally documentaries going into the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and these, you know, the Illuminati and these families. You know, there's full-on documentaries, and they show you proofs. They show you, you know, a history. So that's that knowledge of being increased. And, you know, when you look at it, you know, the technology, that's even more apparent. You know, from in the last 200 years, there's been a technological boom. And as the scriptures say, that's exactly what was going to happen at the time of the end. So, wrapping it full circle, right back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, it talks about how that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed. Why Hashem Yahushai brought out the scripture. So, right in the last moment, Lord gave me the scripture. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 6, it says, "How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up?" Right, so everything that these Edomites have tried to hide, okay, all the wickedness they have done, is now being brought to the light. And it's only going to get worse. So hopefully you find that I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, HaKadosh, and double honors to the elder bishops, Salakia, elder bishops and apostles of great millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, Shalom.